All right, for more on this developing story, we'll get the Texas Tech perspective. She's making her second trip on this show. Who would have thought we'd become good buddies? Of course, she is a co-host of a great show over there. Our good buddy Shelby Hillier joining us here covering Texas Tech. You're going to become a regular at this rate.
Yeah, I mean, we're down. We're down. We'll come on here, but yeah, who would have thought, man? This has been a crazy couple months. We had a lot. We just finished a live show over at Seeing Scarlett. Definitely go follow us if you want to follow Texas Tech sports at all, or just the Nijaree Canady stuff. If you're a big Nijaree fan, we'll definitely be covering her. But who would have thought? Who would have thought?
That's right. Seeing Scarlett's great show, podcast and show. You can check it out on YouTube. You can channel. You can check it out everywhere. All Texas Tech athletics. And hey, it just so happens not only the biggest story right now in Texas Tech athletics, but in college softball is Nijaree Canady becoming a member of the Texas Tech Red Raiders. That was official on Wednesday afternoon as she made her announcement. ESPN has a story on it. The Athletic did a story on it. You did a live show getting the reaction of people. Now that we're a few hours into it on Wednesday night late here, what's your reaction to this news now that you've got the best softball player in the country in Lubbock?
It is so fun to hear you say that. Like, it's crazy, because we've kind of known this was a possibility for a while, but still for it to be final and to be a thing, I didn't know. Like, am I going to be crazy excited because I've already known that it's possible? I mean, is it still going to shock me? When that final news came in earlier this afternoon, it still blew me away, even to think about it. Just what we've been through over the last few months with this program, over the last few years. We really have Nijaree Canady in Lubbock, along with this. I'm sure we're gonna talk about the rest of the roster. Like, it's softball is a thing now in Texas Tech. Like, we were on the rise. We were on the rise with what we had and the number two class coming in, and we were very excited. And then the staff change and all that. And I think it's just a lot of like excitement and shock. And there's a lot of new fans for sure. There's a lot of new people in that live from the Texas Tech world than we've ever had, and just wanting to learn. And like, they know who she was. Like, she transcends sports, in my opinion. Like, people knew who she was even if they didn't follow softball, and they were just really excited that she was a Texas Tech Red Raider. And I think people are excited to see the investment in the program and that it's there. And yeah, I think it's just excitement, y'all. Like, I can't really explain it because if you're not a Texas Tech fan, what we've been through around here. And it's just cool that it's finally coming to where it's like, hey, we can really, really have something special now, and we just get to watch them go to work now.
What was some of the questions or comments that stood out to you as you did the live show and you heard from Red Raider fans?
I mean, most of it was just like, about the NIL stuff, which I'm sure y'all talked about on the show or will, about like, so can Texas Tech win a national championship? How did it come about? Did she know Glasgow? Like, was there a relationship there? All these different things. That's kind of what we got into for the most part, just the general stuff. And yeah, that's kind if you want the whole breakdown, you can go listen to it. It's on YouTube or watch it on YouTube. But yeah, I think that's the biggest thing is people were mostly just like, okay, what does this mean? What does this mean for Texas Tech? Like, are we actually a contender? And so that's why we went through the roster on the show as well, because I think there's a lot of other fan bases that don't really realize that there's some really good players on this team that she's joining. It's not just her carrying a bunch of nobodies. Like, I mean, there's all Americans on this team. There's former freshman All Americans, former just All Americans. I mean, there's great players. So that was kind of the biggest sentiment was like, oh my gosh, the NIL, that's so cool. Will that translate to other teams? We talked a little bit about shout out Aaliyah Chavez, Texas Tech fans, basketball fans know who that is. That was a question that came up. But yeah, just in general, just like, what does this mean? That's kind of the biggest stuff we got into.
Were you surprised when you saw the number $1 million per year that she's getting? Did that surprise? Because I know you've got sources like I do. You heard stuff and but did that number ever? Did you ever hear that number? Because I didn't hear that
Only in
number until very much the last minute.
Correct, yeah. To me, it was lower than that for most of the time, but I wasn't surprised to be frank. Like, I always felt like us being last would help in that way. Is like, hey, I think the people that are the Matador Club, John and Tracy Sellers, who are the big investors in the program and have been previously. They invested $1 million in the program 2 years ago for facility upgrades and to start our NIL program. So they're very passionate about the program and they want to help out. Tracy played softball at Texas Tech, so surprised, yes and no. Like, I think you could tell they were motivated and they understood that this is what she deserved, and other people were putting their name in that similar range and similar pot as well. And it's really great for softball. We talked about that on the show too, and I think I think people need to like move on from the fact that they don't like NIL and just accept that it's here and accept that what Nigel's doing here is really cool. Like if she went to any other school, I would think the same thing. Like we cover a lot of women's sports with what we do, and it is so amazing. It almost makes you want to cry, to be honest, that women's sports now are getting invested in the same way that she's getting what she deserves. That's a lot of money. I get that. That money's being thrown around in basketball and football all the time.
It's
And she's
common.
the best and
Common.
she's the
Yeah.
best player in the whole sport. And she's getting that same level that, just insert whatever player on those
Sure.
rosters is. So I think it's just cool that she's getting it. Surprised, yes and no. Like it's a big number,
Well,
but I
yeah.
know who those people are and the Matador Club and how big it is. I'm sure that it's a combination of both. So if they're motivated to do it, all for it. So it's more than what we heard, but it's not super far off, to
Well,
be honest. So
let's expand on this a little bit because I'm glad that's one of the reasons I wanted to have you on. Because certainly the reaction that I've gotten, I'm sure you got, and definitely I have from talking to everybody in softball. I think people are generally shocked that you have that money. Number one, so
fair.
that's I think I mean and it was interesting. You and I have exchanged messages. We saw other outlets reporting throughout this thing, and they wouldn't mention Texas Tech, and we both kind of laughed at it because we both had heard that Texas Tech was in the mix from the beginning, really throughout this whole thing, and was consistent when the other schools seem to change on a weekly basis, whoever people brought up. But so I want you to, because you know that school and how that works as well as anybody. And you mentioned it, the boosters, John and Tracy Sellers,
Mm-hmm.
and mentioned the fact the Matador Club. Explain to us a little bit how the Matador Club came about. How did it get to this point, and how did this all of a sudden become? You mentioned Tracy being a former softball player. That certainly helps. But how did this all come about from a Texas Tech athletic standpoint? Where did this come from?
Yeah, so the Matador Club started, I mean, as soon as it was allowed for NIL to exist, was that 2, 3 years ago? I mean, Texas Tech's, I think it's ran by alumni. It's not associated with the school because it can't be, right? There's all those rules. I won't pretend to understand how all that works. But Texas Tech was one of the first people, if not the first, to have a true collective as if like this with the Matador Club. Texas Tech was for a lot of sports, women's basketball, I believe, maybe even softball 2 years ago, a lot of different sports was the first to have a team-wide deal for a lot of different sports through the Matador Club. So this is not new at Texas Tech. It's just groundbreaking on the softball side for the individual side of it. But yeah, the Matador Club is funded by fans, by alumni. Anybody can donate to it. So John and Tracy Sellers obviously made a big donation directly to softball in this stance, and you can kind of choose if you wanted to go here. But overall, it just gets shared. There's a lot of different team-wide deals for different sports, and those numbers are varying. And then they use it for different things. So how it works is in exchange for the NIL partnership, the athletes on campus do a lot of charity work with the Matador Club with different businesses and people around the community. So you'll see that. I think Naja already posted something. That's kind of how it will work. They're on 1 year deals. So I've seen a lot of people saying, oh, she's only going to be there for 1 year. I don't think Naja came here for 1 year. We can ask her that, whatever. But that 1 year deal thing that you're seeing reported is because that's how the Matador Club works. You'll see athletes across Texas Tech sports every year at the beginning of their sport. You're seeing it a lot with football players right now. They post something and say, thank you so much for the Matador Club. There's like a picture of them signing a piece of paper. And then they do that the next year. It's all 1 year deals through them. So that's what that means by 1 year deal. Yeah, she'll sign the same thing next year, so to speak. So yeah, it's a fan funded, like it's a monthly, you pick how much you want to, like I'm a subscriber to the Matador Club, like anybody can do it, and you pick how much you want to donate each month and it just comes out, and then you can do big individual donations as well, like you see with some of the big donors. And so that's how it works, because NIL is not, despite what people think, the school is not paying these athletes. They can't. That's coming with revenue sharing in the future, but that's not right now. It has to be NIL collectives or whatever, and that's kind of how this works, is it's fan funded / donors and all those things. Hopefully that explained it as clearly as possible.
Way better than I would have. That's why I'm happy you were here. That's why I thought
Yeah,
of
and
you on
there's a
this.
lot of people that run it, so I don't want to name their names because it changes, but
Sure.
they get a lot of credit for starting it, and they do a great job. And it's expanded to different sports. Like recently, I've noticed it's getting into track. Even I've seen a lot of track athletes in the last few weeks announcing that they're getting Matador Club deals, which is cool to see. And so the more it grows, the more sports they can support. And softball's been one that's been a part of it for a couple of years now.
Let me read you a portion of this ESPN article
Sure.
because I never thought this particular athlete would come up on a softball podcast that I would be doing, but this person has come up a few times on my phone, and I told you about this, and you laughed at me. But here it is on the ESPN article. I'll read you here. Canady, according to the ESPN article, said also pointed to a potential opportunities at Texas Tech through a recently announced deal between the school, Adidas, and Kansas City Chiefs current quarterback and former Red Raider Patrick Mahomes as a factor in this. Your reaction to that statement, explain that to the audience there, because there's a lot of people have gotten messages at me here that, hey, how did Patrick Mahomes get involved in this deal for Nijaree Canady because of the Adidas? Kind of explain what's been going on with all that at Texas Tech.
Yeah, and I'm not going to tend to know for sure on that. I just know the people that have publicly came out and said that they were doing it with Tracy and John Sellers, and that's kind of been my assumption throughout it, even with the Mahomes rumor. I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt that Mahomes is not a regular donator to the Matador Club. Patrick Mahomes, we're very proud of him as an alum. Patrick Mahomes is the best football player in the world, right? But at his core, he is a giant Texas Tech fan. You'll see him at Texas Tech sports all over the country. So it would not shock me if he donates to the Matador Club. Did he do some sort of big donation for this particular player for Canady? Maybe. I don't know. But what I think she's alluding to more realistically is we just switched from Under Armour to Adidas, in large part because Mahomes is partnered with Adidas. That's how that came together. It's been in the works for a while. Mahomes has his own brand at Adidas called like the Mahomes brand. It's like a gladiator logo, and you'll see that on the stuff that he wears. That's going to be something that you're going to see, I believe, on football jerseys and some others in the future, kind of like Jordan brand. If you've seen that around with Nike has Jordan brand, and there's even in those schools like the softball program has Jordan brand on there. I very much could see her becoming a Mahomes brand athlete in the future, and that being a potential future opportunity that she's talking about. That would make a lot of sense for him, a lot of sense for Adidas. Why would you not make her your face of college softball? Like, why would you not do it? And so that to me is the most realistic thing there. Now, does Mahomes donate to the Matador Club? I don't know. You'd have to ask him. It would not shock me that he doesn't do that, but he supports all the sports. So I don't know for sure the details on that. I've heard that rumor. I'm glad that the Sellers thing came out more publicly because I feel like they deserve credit for what they're doing here for the program. But no, it wouldn't shock me if he's involved. But I think maybe something more along the lines of like an Adidas kind of sponsor, same way that Haley Van Lith for basketball is like their face of women's basketball, is like their Adidas athlete in college. Like perhaps that's something that they're talking about and just hasn't been worked out yet.
Well, I will mention this because, I mean, maybe some in this audience doesn't know the background of Patrick Mahomes. Again, but Patrick Mahomes' dad was a Major League Baseball pitcher.
Yes.
So he has background as far as ball.
He played baseball at Texas Tech for his freshman year.
Bingo. So you and I are like, I feel like you should do a podcast. Yeah. Oh, yeah, you do. You and Sibby do a great job. But you just read my mind. I think there's an affection there, right? Like a little tied in with the sport. I know they're different sports, but baseball, softball, it makes a ton of business sense. You have an opportunity to get one of the best softball players to have that gear. That would make sense. Just like if they said Texas Tech got one of the top baseball players. That wouldn't be a shocking development. Yeah. I mean, I could see an affection there where he likes not just Texas Tech. Right? Yeah.
I think it's coming, and it would I think he'll have different athletes from different sports. But yeah, it would make all the sense in the world that Adidas would want to do that too with Canady. Like, I mean, why would you not want to, if you're going to get into the softball world and have a softball athlete, why would you not want to do it when you have like your biggest partner ever in Mahomes and let it be a Mahomes brand thing perhaps, or Adidas, however you do it. But I think that's very, very likely, but I think he will be doing it for other sports as well. Don't let's not play around.
No. But
I don't know how quickly that's going to happen because it's all started and he's, in the middle of a season right now, or training camp and all that.
Training camp, yeah, he's going for a three-peat, but
it's a little busy. That's the other part of this. I'm like, the guy's like has a job, so he's not like off-seasoning it. But no, it wouldn't shock me at all. Like he'll definitely, if we get to OKC, which is clearly the plan now, that's going to be the expectation now. He will be there if he can be there, if it doesn't conflict with other things he has going on. That's the level of fan he is of Texas Tech.
I will point out, because for people that think this is kind of weird, I remember when Tiger Woods was an amateur at Stanford. And he was winning the amateur championship. One of the people that was following him in the groups there on the green was Phil Knight. of Nike.
Mm.
Now, he didn't sign with Nike until he officially announced to turn pro, but I think in this era, if Tiger Woods was playing amateur, Nike would have probably had him while he was at
Yeah,
Stanford.
for sure. I
Just
mean, we had last year we had the best golfer in college golf. Right now he's tearing it up on the tour. Ludwig Aberg. People know who that name is. He's Texas Tech. He just graduated last year. If we had Adidas then, he was instantly an Adidas athlete right when he graduated, which might have been because we were switching to it. But yes, he would have been the Adidas golf athlete in college last year. So that's a perfect comparison. So yeah, I agree.
let me ask you. Obviously, there's critics.
Mm,
It's
that's fair.
it's a polarizing topic.
I'm used to critics at Texas Tech. Bring it
And,
on.
well, I think this is again, and I try to emphasize people on the podcast. This is going on in all of college athletics.
Yep.
So this is not just a softball thing. This is going on. It's been going on in football, and my goodness, it's been going on in basketball for a while. Like
Yeah.
I think people would be floored if they knew how much money a backup
Yes.
player in college basketball is making today.
They would. I'm not going to name numbers, but I know numbers that have
Oh,
been thrown
it's
around, and this is
right,
chump change.
and not to mention quarterbacks in football. But some people, one of the issues people are having, feedbacks I'm getting is it worth giving up a quote Stanford degree for Texas Tech degree? That is a common criticism I think you're going to that's going to be heard from. How do you respond to that as somebody who has a degree at Texas Tech? And
Yeah.
as I understand, you're doing well.
Yeah, I mean, I have 3 degrees from Texas Tech. I'm doing fine for myself. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like having a Stanford degree is not awesome. I fully would expect her to have a Stanford degree at some point. Like there's nothing stopping her from going back and finishing her Stanford degree. You can't like this is life-changing money, and a Texas Tech degree is like not gonna hurt her in life, y'all. Like this idea that she needs a Stanford degree to have success in life is crazy to me. But like she can do both, right? And she'll be fine at Texas Tech. So I hear that. I knew that was gonna be a thing. They got to find something to throw shots at us, but there's plenty of successful people that have done just fine for themselves. We just talked about NIL. Where do you think all those people graduated that are giving that NIL money? Where do you think they're giving that money? You think they're getting that money because they didn't do well in business and they're doing fine for themselves post graduation? They're Texas Tech grads. Like she's gonna be fine, y'all. But I'm not gonna disrespect Sanford and say that's not a cool degree to have. So if I was her, you're getting you life changing money right now. Invest that. Go play professional softball, which is I'm sure is her plan. In the off seasons, finish her Stanford degree if she really wants it. Like nothing's stopping her from doing this. There's no reason she can't go back and finish it. So that'd be my answer to that because I just think that's kind of silly. Like we're acting like she's not a college softball player. You know what I mean? So she can do both, and she'll be just fine at Texas Tech. It's not a junior college, y'all.
Very good. I figured we get an answer there. And again, it's a different landscape now in college athletics. And I think people we're all trying to still kind of figure out where this is all headed, right? Like in college athletics. I think some people are still kind of
Yeah, that's fair, and I'm sure I know the softball world is very. I feel like there's a lot of softball fans that don't follow any other sports, which I love. I love that about softball fans.
that's true.
But
That's true.
it's coming to softball, and Texas Tech. You can thank us or hate us for it, but it's here now. And these other schools that have been running shop with the NIL the last 2 years, we don't have to name names, but they've been doing it at a lower level. Are going to have to step up to that level now. Other people are going to be like, "Hey, we saw what Texas Tech did. Oh, maybe we need to do something." It's good for the game. It's good for the athletes. It's good for the sport in the sense of like this is what they deserve, and especially on the women's side where maybe the pro game's growing, and I love that, but the opportunities aren't as big as they are for men's sports or Olympic sports or all those different things. They can really go out and make what they're worth because she's gonna be bringing in stuff to Texas Tech. Let's not kid ourselves. So she deserves to be getting
Well,
something for that. That's the whole
right.
point of NIL. I know it's turned into pay for play, but the whole point is name, image, and likeness. If you don't think Texas Tech is going to be making money off of her name, image, and likeness, you're crazy. And so it's fair for her to get a piece of that. And so it's just the world that we're in, and they're getting what they long deserved, and they were kind of being used for a lot of years.
And that was honestly one of the reasons why Jerry Glasgow went to Texas Tech. He saw this coming. It's no secret. When he left Louisiana, I had the Louisiana beat writer on. He mentioned that NIL probably played a factor. I think Jerry mentioned that as he got to Texas Tech. I think he saw this is the future of college athletics, where it's the haves and I mean, if you want to call it haves, have-nots, however you want to describe it. I mean, that we just saw reports coming out Wednesday that softball's going to become 25 full scholarships now. You're going to have to pay.
I think that'll maybe help a little with the teams that don't have as much NIL.
Sure.
So
Sure.
I like that. I don't know that we'll ever carry 25 people because we have that. I don't know. It'll be interesting, but I
Right.
do think it'll help. So that maybe will even the playing field a little bit.
But you're
But
still
yeah,
gonna put
it's the new norm. But
the
yeah, the
needle.
people that have it are going to get pitching. In softball, it's going to be pitching. In football, it's going to be quarterbacks. Like there's a position in every sport that's going to get that highest paid money. And in softball, everybody knows if you have an elite pitcher, you can find hitters. There's a lot of good hitters, right? There's certainly some that are better than others. There's a lot of good hitters out there. It's that pitching that's so hard to find because the hitting is gotten so good. Like you got to really have these pitchers that can overcome that. So yeah, I think it's the new norm. We knew that when he was hired. That he wasn't shy about it. He said it in the press conference with Texas Tech. That's part of the reason. I mean, I even heard that. I mean, I think Naja was like open to like Louisiana and but she was honest like maybe like I've heard that was maybe I've seen Louisiana fans talking about that
Well, he
that
would.
they were thinking she was like going to be a possibility for them when Glasgow was there. They have some sort of connection. I'm not going to pretend get into that because that's not for me to know, but it feels like there's some kind of connection through whoever that he was even talking to her there. But like let's be frank, they didn't have that money. Like he was going to have to go somewhere to pull something like this off. And thankfully, as a Texas Tech alum and fan, that was us, but it could have been a lot of different places for sure.
Well, and she said in the article she was impressed by all the players that have followed Jerry to
Yeah,
Texas Tech.
I think it says a lot about
Right.
him as a coach for sure.
So let's talk about the on the field because I think that's going to be the other narrative criticism, quote unquote.
For sure,
Well,
for sure.
right? Why did she go to Texas Tech? Did she, you know, bail on a championship, which is nonsense? I mean, if you have Kennedy on your roster, you're automatically a championship team. Now I feel bad because I gave this big comments about what the future would be at Texas Tech, not knowing that she would even come there. Now, I said, well, maybe you can make a World Series. Now, yeah, that's going to be the expectation. But let's talk about this roster because I think one of the misconceptions here is she's not coming alone. I don't think she would go there. I know the money. We'll get it, whatever. I get
Mm-hmm.
that. It's not chump change. So I get all that. But it's not like she's walking into a team that has no players. She's got talent around them, and I think she took notice of that, and she mentioned that in the article. Let's talk about what are your thoughts on the roster right now?
Yeah, and I was asking people before this because we knew, this was a possibility, but I was like, hey, be honest with me. If we do not get Kennedy, what do you think our roster is as stands? How would we do? And people were like, I think you have a top 25 roster as it is. And so if softball people like aren't believing that, like the roster was there. Now it was heavily dependent on some really very, very talented freshman pitchers stepping up and having that number two role behind a very, very good pitcher in Chloe Huyaceto, who came over for Louisiana, who was a very like one of the best number two pitchers in the country behind Sam Landry last year. Now she gets to do it behind Canady. And I've heard Chloe was ready. And she's excited about having Niger, don't get me wrong. She's excited about it, but she was ready to be the number one and she believes she could be. And now you have her as your number two, and now these freshmen can come along and not have as much pressure on. But the talent's there. The number two recruiting class in the country, and he kept all of them. Not a single one of them left in the coaching change, which was kind of surprising for a lot of people. I mean, it's not normal that a coaching change would happen, and not a single one of them bailed. And they said, "No, I want to play for Jerry Glasgow. Let's go." That was before Kennedy was even an option. Now, of course, I'm sure they're on board. But there's three really good pitchers. Sam Lincoln, who was just in the Alliance All-Star game the other day, pitched a great inning if you watched that. Cassie Johnson is a catcher. She'll be our backup catcher to Vic Valdez that came over from Louisiana. She was in that All-Star game as well as a freshman. Brinley Gonzalez is another lefty pitcher. We have like three lefty pitchers, which is always nice in softball. Bailey Lindemuth is a name you need to know. She's going to be a big contributor, a big part of this as a pitcher and a position player. She's playing in the pro for the like fast pitch something All-American game on ESPNU on Saturday, this tomorrow, I guess, as you're listening to this. You can watch her play. And then a number of them. Haley Tony, big time shortstop. A lot of schools wanted her. She's coming in. We have returners. Demi Elder, y'all heard me talk about her on the D1 podcast or this podcast a few weeks ago. She's our returning senior on the team. Great player, had a breakout year. Two all Big 12 freshmen return, and then all those Louisiana players, right? That everybody like a lot of people wanted. And Maya Davis for sure, All-American player there, just gonna roam the outfield. Lauren Allred hits bombs. Alexa Langoliers kind of flew under the radar this week, but she just got signed. She was a late entry into the portal, and we'll take it. We needed some veteran leadership there in the middle of the infield. She fits that. And then even other players that weren't Louisiana players, like there's other ones in there, right, that came in. And Alana Johnson. Lots of teams wanted Alana Johnson from Washington, right? She was ranked as one of the highest position players available in the portal. Definitely one of the best outfielders, although I've heard she can play infield as well if needed. She hits bombs. You're going to hit bombs. You booms, as we call them at Sing Scarlett, home runs in Lubbock. Lubbock's at a pretty high altitude. Fun facts, if people don't realize that, look it up. Near 4,000 in altitude. The ball flies really well, and he brought in a lot of hitters that caters to, and they can hit bombs. And I've heard Nijaree can hit too. We've seen her do it, and maybe she'll get a chance to do that more in Lubbock. But yeah, I mean, I could talk about this roster forever, and I have on our show. So if you really want to know who's on this team, go check out our YouTube show. We have highlights of all of them. I'm very excited about it. And to be frank, I didn't know that he could do this in the time frame he had. I thought maybe by next year he would have a roster this caliber. But he took over at the end of June, and I was like, man, the options are pretty slim at this point. And he went out and got the best of what was left and really did the dang thing. So, yeah, anyone saying we don't have a roster is being ignorant, and you need to open the roster. Go to Texas Tech softball roster online. It's completely updated. You'll see all the names. They're good players. So, Naja didn't come here, like you said, because she was joining a bunch of nobodies. Like, it's
No,
a big team.
me and Justin just talked about it on the podcast. I mean, I think they're a Big 12 title contender. You're definitely a World Series contender, which are words that have not been said in Lubbock when it comes to softball, Shelby.
I'm not fronting.
Uh,
We have not ever been a contender for a World Series.
so my question to you is, where is she right now in the pecking order? Like, Justin McLeod believes, granted, he's a softball guy, but he
Fair.
believes, and I have some other people, like, is she right now the most recognizable athlete, current, not talking about alums, because Patrick Mahomes, I think everybody would agree, is the most famous alum right now at Texas Tech with the success he's had in the NFL,
Fair.
which is the most popular sport. And I'm talking about sports athlete. I'm going to leave
Yeah.
non-sports.
I would agree with that. Yes.
Okay. Is she right now currently, as far as the on campus, the most recognizable athlete at Texas Tech?
In her sport? I mean, yeah. I mean, for fans, she's gonna be. I mean, I think nationally, yeah. I think probably the closest you're gonna get is Micah Hudson, who's gonna be a freshman for the football team. He was like the 5th overall recruit in this recruiting class, a receiver. He could be a first round top 5 pick in the NFL in 2 years after he's eligible. Like, he's a star, and he was a huge get. So that's probably the closest to like the most recognizable on campus. Another one, Sam Courtright in soccer. Soccer world knows who Sam Courtright is. She's on the U20 national team. She's going to be playing in the World Cup in a couple of weeks, most likely. So she's huge and going to be a star in the future when she gets to the pro level. But you're talking like, have we ever been on the front page of ESPN because we got a transfer? No, like not. And Micah Hudson's probably the only one that landed. He was a signing that landed you on the front page of ESPN. So I think that says everything. Like, there's been big athletes that have come through here. Don't get me wrong, but we said it on our show earlier tonight. I think she's the biggest transfer signing in Texas Tech sports history, bar none. We're the reigning player of the year. We've never gotten that at Texas Tech, and I mean, who does get that as a transfer? Because that's such a weird situation.
Right. But she's one of the, if she does if she does the next 2 years what she did the first 2 years, I mean, she's probably going to be a favorite to be on that pitching staff for the U.S. Olympic team in 28. Like, that's how significant she is. I mean, I was trying to think of other athletes at Texas Tech. Did Cheryl Swoops play there? Is that?
Yeah, I would say if you're talking all time, like I was just naming off current ones because that's what you asked. But obviously Patrick Mahomes. I mean, Cheryl Swoops won a national championship for us along with Krista Gerlich. Then Kirkland, she's our head coach for the women's team now on basketball. Janine Becky for soccer fans is a huge star in soccer right now. She's a Canadian, plays for Team Canada. She won a world or a Olympic gold medal in the last Olympics. She'll be playing starting tomorrow. She plays, well, I don't know when you're listening to this. The game's on Thursday. She plays there, so she's a huge star in the soccer world. People know who Janine Becky is. Zach Thomas played there in football.
Yeah, Dolphin. I'm a Dolphin fan. Trust me, I'm aware.
Yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of track athletes, but yeah, I mean, she's gonna be up there, but she's gonna enter that. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that she's not one of the biggest athletes. Gonna be the biggest athletes in tech sports by the time she leaves. Like build the freaking statue outside the stadium. I'm not even kidding. Like that's the level of player she could
Well,
be if she goes and wins a natty here.
we had you on last time with Jerry. I asked you about where does softball place overall in all the sports.
Yeah,
And you talked about how football obviously is this monster sport, baseball with
that
the
way
success they've
everywhere.
had,
Yeah.
basketball, et cetera, et cetera. But here you got the marquee player in softball going to be wearing those colors. Do you see this kind of? Because I don't know. It's kind of weird. It reminds me a little bit of Texas Tech men's basketball, where Chris Beard kind of built it up, and next thing you look away, and they're like, "Wait, they're in the Final Four."
Hmm.
Like, where did that come
Yeah.
from, right? I kind of feel we're headed for this with softball a little bit here.
Yeah. Yeah. It's people are gonna notice. People have already noticed even before she was signed. I mean, I can't tell it. I wish I knew the numbers, but I've been hearing that the amount of people that had already bought or put their deposit down for season tickets. It's
Ooh.
the first year they've had that, but it was like they were really impressed with the outpouring already. People reaching out to us every time we'd post something. It's like, "Yep, you sold me. I'm going to buy season tickets right now." And that was before her. The amount of people that have called me, texted me since this news broke, I haven't even answered the calls. They're all voicemails or texts that said, "Just got off the phone with the ticket office. Just bought my soccer and my softball season tickets. I can't wait." Like, I think there's going to be a waiting list. If Texas Tech fans are listening and you haven't put your deposit down, you might already be on a waiting list for softball. Like, that's the interest that I think's there. Like, Texas Tech, I said it on your show, and I mean that. Texas Tech, if you give them something to believe in, and they have something to believe in now, softball's gonna up those ranks. That place is gonna be packed on big games, maybe all the games. We'll see. I've heard some chatter about if they need to, they're ready to bring in bleachers in the outfield or in the concourse. Like they're gonna do what they need to take advantage. But yeah, if this becomes a sport where they're winning all the time, like a Oklahoma State OU, like it'll be just as popular. Like, it'll be right up there. People love to watch people winning things, like in any school. And Texas Tech fans are about as passionate as you're going to find. I'm not even kidding. Just go see I mean, you can see it on Twitter right now. Like people that didn't really know, there's so many people sharing those posts and stuff that are excited that maybe don't really know what they're talking about, but they know they're excited that she's a Red Raider and they get to watch her play. So, yeah, I mean, basketball, that's somewhat of a good comparison. But I mean, basketball had a history before that, at least, Bobby Knight and all that. But yeah, softball is an overnight team. Someone asked that on our show. Is this the quickest a coach has come to Texas Tech and made a team relevant? And I was like, you would have to say yes because he had to do it in 3 weeks. No one else has had to do it in that short of a time frame. So yeah, it's exciting for sure. But Texas Tech fans are in for it. But they'll be there. It's going to be packed. I get on the waiting list now if you're
I,
not. Is all I'm saying.
I can't even imagine what fall ball is going to be like. Might be the biggest, most fall ball anticipation. Normally,
We
people,
talked about that too.
yeah,
I hope they do something with it because a lot of these big schools stream their fall ball games.
yeah.
Even we've never. We don't. I don't even know what's happening in fall ball. I'm like, can someone tell me what the score of the games were? Did we win? Can someone give me a freaking box score? Like, we have no idea what happens unless you go to the games. They are open to the public. I think they're free usually. Maybe not
Usually should
anymore.
be, yeah.
But
Yeah.
you can go. But I don't live in Lubbock. Maybe someday, but I don't. So I could never go to fall ball. And now I think it's going to be a lot of fun because I think fall ball is about to be real competitive because
That's what I'm saying.
there's
That's
a
what
lot
I'm
of position
saying.
battles on this team all of a sudden that's going to
Yeah.
be fun to watch for sure. So yeah, the interest is there. I'm not. People can say what they want to say, but Texas Tech fans are excited and just believe that from the source. Like they're going to be there for sure.
I definitely could see that very well, and I know you're looking forward to covering it. And I have a
We
feeling.
deserve this, Eric. We deserve this. That's all I'm saying.
I know
We've been here. We've been here, and now we get to do this. So it's cool.
Well, enjoy it. I have a feeling we're going to be having you on during the season as this seismic moment in
Yeah.
softball occurs here with Nijaree now being a Red Raider. Shelby, thank you for your talking a little bit Texas Tech to get people familiar because a lot of people are now really they're learning right now. They're jumping on the computer, learning more about Texas Tech
Yeah.
softball than ever before.
That's for
That
sure.
will be
Come to
for
Seeing Scarlett, y'all. Come follow us on Twitter,
there you go.
YouTube. We talk about it. I'm telling you, and you can go back and listen to our previous episodes if you want. We've been hinting at this for a while and talking about the team. So if you want to get more info on the team and how this happened, come hang out. We're welcome to new fans. Come be a Red Raider. It's safe here. I promise. It's a good time.
Very good, very good. That's Shelby. Shelby, appreciate you. Thanks for coming on here on In the Circle on D1 Softball.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.